Hello, hello. Welcome to another week, another stream. It's great to see everyone again. As you know, today we are going to be looking at monsters. I have lost my mind and decided I want to redo all of the monsters in Drakonym, which is going to be great fun. So welcome. Today is going to be a good day. I'm just going to grab the, what's it called? The thing, man. I want to keep the chat pinned, but I can't seem to do it. So I might have to keep looking over to look at chat. But yeah, no, it should be a good time. I'm very excited to sort of go over monsters, figure out what the plan is. You should also be able to see just on the screen as well, chat for both YouTube and Twitch, sort of like condensed into one. Let me know if you can see that. Let me know how you've been. You know, we had a lot going on over the last few weeks. One of the big things being the amazing stream from Hime. If you didn't catch it, there is a VOD. There's like 53 odd hours of content. So I do recommend going to watch that if you have. And I just noticed that Hime is here. So hello, welcome. Right. So a few things. We should probably go over the goals for the monsters and what my vision for this is. So let's go on like my top level design goals. I want monsters to be fun to run. They should be easy to pass. So read at a glance. They should be functional in solo. They should also be engaging. So when I mean that is different to fun to run. So thematically engaging. So this is essentially, for example, like a dragon should actually have rules that, or systems in its stat block that allow it to feel like you're playing against a dragon, you know, or like a creature that is ice-based, has abilities that can do stuff focused in that space of things. What else? They should be, well, I mean, we've done functional and solo, we've done easy to pass, fun to run, and thematically engaging. They should also be balanced, but that's like less so important because I think the balancing overall should be something that comes with time for me rather than something that comes in immediately. It's just not going to happen. So that's where we're at with that. And they should also be challenging, you know, like when I mean challenging, I don't mean, let's make that something. When I mean challenging, I don't mean like not, what's it called, hard to fight, but make the players think. And environment or puzzles to solve. Think an enemy in Zelda who has certain things they need to lose in order to beat them. Yeah, I mean, this is like you know, bottom level sort of stuff. I'm not hugely focused on that. So those are my top level design goals. I think that makes sense to me as a place to start, which brings me into sort of, you know, picking up this stuff and actually let's like have a look at some games. Sorry, let me move my thing away from my desk and then we'll switch over to my desk cam in a second. So move all of this out of the way. Fine. There we go. Should be okay. Right. Hello, desk cam. So I've got a few games. I've got loads of games. So we're going to start off with a few that are like smaller books and then start off with them, have a look, and then come back to others. I might just move this over here so I can still type, but they're still out of the way. So we'll start off with Dungeon World before we get onto Nimble. I have read this book quite a few times, actually. It's been a very interesting foray into design. It's a PBTA game. So for those who aren't familiar, PBTA means Powered by the Apocalypse. It is a game that uses the Powered by the Apocalypse rules. They are one of the most widely used rules, second to something like D&D in terms of third-party publishing, just because they're really easy to sort of like bring into games and adapt into things. I am not a huge fan of PBTA, as my Discord know. I do not like the system in the grander sense of things. I think there's a lot that it misses, and I also think that it's a system that people look at and go, oh, I can just use that to be narrative, rather than coming up with their own ideas. And while I'm not against the idea of using a system that already exists, I think there are interesting ideas that you can come up with if you spend the time to do so. There are many people who pump out games using PBTA and they're all the same, and I'm just not a huge fan of that. There are amazing PBTA games out there, so I'm just going to put that out there, and Dungeon World is one of the more fun ones. So let's have a look. Today we're going to be looking at monsters, so I'm not going to go over actual, what's the word, like system stuff today. We're just going to look at the monsters themselves. So we'll look through quickly and see where monsters are. Let me grab something to use as a pointer. Do I have a pen or something? No, I don't. Yes, yeah, I've got a pen here. Could use that. So we are looking for monsters 219. So we'll look at monsters 219. Okay. 219. Okay. All right, here we go. Monsters. Using monsters. A monster is anything living or dead that stands in character's way. You can use monsters following directly. How to use these monsters follows directly from your general principles. Stay true to your principles, use your moves, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so that's not really, I don't really mind about that. Okay, cool. Monsters without stats. Some creatures operate on a scale far beyond the mortals, like HP, armor, and damage. Just do not hold. Some of these creatures aren't dangerous in the fight. These creatures may still cause problems for players. Creatures of such scale are far beyond the players, or if they just don't put up a physical fight, don't assign it HP, damage, or armor. Okay, that makes sense. Let's have a look at some basic ones. So what I want to do today is, this will be a longer one. I will be completely honest here. I've got a few goals that I want to achieve today. One of them being a basic like bandit stat block, and the other being a legendary monster. I want to figure both of the layouts out for those today. And now that doesn't mean fully kitted out with exact numbers for health, exact numbers for defense, none of that. Just basically, what does a stat block look like? A template, if you will. That gives me something to then use as a broader design schematic for future monster design that refines and changes over time. So let's have a look. Okay, so monster setting 1, cavern dwellers. I'm going to look at something more like basic warrior rather than monster. Because obviously if we're doing a bandit, if they've got bandits in here, then that's a really good place to start. Because then we have an average thing that works in every single system. So let's start with something like that, see if we can find it. You know what I will say? Let's also look at how these things are organized. So this one is organized in 2 ways. It seems like it's organized by setting, then organized by alphabetical order. I don't know which I prefer. Like, I like the setting organization. I think that's pretty good. You know, that makes sense to me. I'm not sure if I like the, what's the word? Like, the organization by level is something I enjoy, but that's just me. You know, it might not be something that others do. So, yeah, Blink Dog, Dryad, Cockatrice, Hill Giant, Ogre, Ravenous Hordes, don't want that, Twisted Experiments, Lower Depths. Do you see what I mean? Like, this is the thing I'm a bit concerned about. I'm finding it really hard to find a basic bandit stat block in this book. And I don't even know if there is one because it's not something that I can easily look for. But let's use the book as intended. So, oh, I just realized you guys can't see this, can you? It's really like bright. Okay, let me turn off the extra light. And then what we'll do, we'll zoom in a bit. Tell me if that's clear, if you can see it. Is that helpful? Oh, look at that. We got a bot in the chat. Let's go. I've made it. I'm so happy. We'll just add that to the block list. So glad. Okay. Is there an index? Yeah. So is this good? This sort of look? Let me know if not. I can mess with the settings a bit. But basically, let's look at Folks of the Realm and then go from there. So we're looking at 313. 313. All right. 313, 313. Gosh, no, probably do what? 313. Page 314, actually, yeah. Thank you. Right. Bandit. Found it. There we are. Okay. No. Bandit. Desperation is the... Okay, it's a lot of lore here. You get Bandit, their, I guess, organization of stuff. So you got Horde, intelligent, organized. The Dirk, which is their basic attack. You then have 3 HP, 1 armor, and their range is close. I like the instincts. I do not like the description, if I'm to be completely honest. I think this is really long, and it doesn't leave much room for interpretation for you as a herald, because that's the other thing we have to think about. Who is a stat block for? Who is it facing? It's the herald, right? The herald is the one facing all of this information. Why am I giving them all of this? So what if I wanted my bandits not to be like this? I know I can write them myself, but then this is a lot of wasted space. Let's say we cut all of this out, right? We just had this and the instincts here. That is instantly this plus 3 lines. 4 lines disappear. That suddenly means I can add more and more stat blocks per page. I'm also thinking this from a book perspective because I don't want to overwhelm the average herald. It's just not fair on them. I'm not going to read this. I know what a bandit is. The only time I would probably add to something like this is if it was someone like Carver, who's in the Drakonym stat block already. Someone like a boss that is exclusive to that world. Norag, even Bramble, if I ever made him into a stat block. The creatures of the realm that are more unique. A bandit does not need the description like this. I believe, genuinely, that you can get away with just some details on their stats, some details on who they are, and then cut out all of the fluff here. So let's look at this objectively. I like the name and the detail at the top. I think bandit being a horde, intelligent, organized. Obviously, these are key words that specifically mean certain things. Fine, it's what I do as well. I like that. I like that they've got a single attack, and I also like the simplified HP armor. We've got obviously defense. This being a PBTA game does not use a grid, which is why it doesn't have certain things like speed. Perfectly fine. So what we'll do, I wonder if it's charged. It probably isn't, but I did plug it in just before the stream, so we'll see. Annoying. Okay, bear with me a second. See if it wants to do the thing. All right. Okay, it might be good. Might be good. Come on. Okay then. Let's add a quick notebook. We'll just pop that in there. And then create a new notebook to record some ideas down, and we'll just name it Drakonym. Cool. And we'll just make it blank and create. Okay, so I guess the real question is, what did we like about the stat block? I enjoyed the simple we'll say D with W. Actually, yeah, we'll just do it this way. Okay, cool. So dungeon world. I like the simplified top level stuff, top level details. I enjoyed the instincts, that was good. And I enjoyed the singular stats. Singular stat plus attack. I like that, really easy to pass. I know exactly what its HP is, I know exactly its details. Super easy. Turn that down. Let me know if you can read that. I think you should be able to if I lean over this. Yeah, cool. Okay, perfect. So that works. I didn't like the description. Too fluffy. Right. Cool. That is Dungeon World. So that gives me a good place to end with that one. Yeah. Okay. So that's Dungeon World. We'll just, yeah, we've got the bandit there. Horde intelligent, yeah, cool. Right, that's one out of the way. Let's now look at Nimble. I like Nimble. I think Nimble is a good game to look at if you're coming from something like 5e. I think it's got a lot of strengths, and it is a fun game to run from a perspective of a game that is all about combat. I have my own views when it comes to its ability to do stuff like heavy roleplay, but if you are moving from D&D and you want to first step into a more quick game, something like Nimble is perfect. So yeah, and Evan Diaz, the creator, is great, so it's a lot of fun there as well. He's very active in his community and does a lot for the creator space too. So bestiary, right? So this is something I found really interesting with Nimble. Certain things like the stats sort of remain a bit, what's the word, like defaulted across the board. What I mean by this is, if you notice here, let me zoom in and let me know if you can see this. You notice here, can you read this stat sheet a bit? Like the bare bones basics is what I'm looking at here. So let me see if I can lift it up a bit. Oh, let's go. So you should be able to see Goblin, level 1/3 small, health 14, 15, and then it's got a perk here or an ability, and then it's got an attack here, right? That's the basic layout of a stat block like this in Nimble. If we are looking at what is missing, doesn't have any stats for defense, doesn't have a stat for speed, doesn't have anything for really anything else in that like size as well. It's got small there, but like what I find really interesting is also it doesn't have what's it called, like a need for that, because Nimble has done something really interesting, which is, I'm just going to turn off my light. Give me a second because this is getting a bit annoying. Okay, so it's a bit darker, but I think this is easier to read. So what they do is default monster stats. I'll be honest, I really like that. I like the idea that a monster's stats, when you have multiple monsters that need interesting sort of like different stats, you only write them in when it changes. That is interesting to me from a design perspective. But what I don't like is, what if you didn't know that you needed all of that? You know? Right, let's try that. Problem is, I don't have the... Yeah, that's too dark. But if I've got the screen on white, that might work. Anyway. What I don't like is that unless you are going to be playing this a lot, a new GM may not remember this. And that's the other thing as well. Like, I want to make a game that is also easy for new heralds to jump into. So a new herald may not instantly know the speed of 6, it's unarmored and it's medium-sized, has a reach of 1 and whatever, right? I like the fact that there's a default. I think it's very cool, but I also think it's not doing anything else for the stat block. If you actually look at it, so this is a stat block without the defaults written down. And this is a stat block where things do change. Let's see if I can find it. Here we go. This is one where things are different, right? And it's just noted in. There's a lot of dead space here that we could use in order to make that, put those in. I don't actually think default things are great in a game that needs, where you can have space to do all of these things, right? So personally, if I'm to be completely honest, I think that default stats are great, just not for Drakonym. I think a game like that, when you are got multiple monsters, etc., the default thing is, it doesn't really help. It doesn't solve a problem that the game has at the minute. For Nimble, I can definitely see it working. I think for the speed, absolutely. Every creature moves at a minimum of 6. Every creature is unarmored. Every single creature has a minimum range of 1, blah, blah, blah. I think that's perfect for this game. Its design philosophy achieves that perfectly. So let's look at a bandit. Bandits are a creature group. A creature group gets a unique ability that is the same across every single creature in that group. So in this case, every single bandit, bandit minion, bandit hunter, bandit bruiser, captain, mage, assassin, every single one has parry, treat attacks against you, that roll a 2 as a miss. Interesting, really nice, perfect for this. And then we look at a basic, let's look at a bandit, because a bandit minion follows different rules. So we'll look at a bandit. Level 3rd, 1/3, HP 12, stab, 1d8 plus 1, or shoot, range 8. The shoot does the same damage as the stab. Fine, makes sense to me. Because it doesn't have its values here, I can assume it is unarmored, it has a speed of 6, and it's also medium. Because of default stats, I can assume that. This is not easy to pass. What I mean by pass is this is not easy to instantly understand. Because let's say you're new to this, you jump in, you grab that, you might go, wait a second, where's the movement speed? Where's this? Where's that? Then you have to go looking for it. I think it's a bit messy. From a new player perspective is where I'm saying it. I think it's very good from I've played this for a while, I kind of just want quick stats, I don't really need any of the fluff. Yeah. So, yeah. From a detail perspective of layout, absolutely, get rid of it, get rid of stuff that are the same across multiple things. That's what you do, right? You grab duplicates and you delete them. But we're not trying to fit the entire book onto a single A5 page. I've got A4 to play with. I don't need to do that. So, what do I like about Nimble? Let's have a look at that. We'll look at legendary creatures later on. I think we'll start with the bandit. I like simplified stats. I also love that the stats are not written down anywhere. Like, that is really nice. But I also, it's a different game, so it does make sense. I enjoy that it's got a singular, minimal attacks. I like that they're mostly single line abilities as well. Let's see. This did work earlier, didn't it? Okay, there we go. Oh, someone's at my door. Bear with me 2 seconds. Sorry about that. I am back. Why? Okay, there we go. So, what else did I like about Nimble? I don't know, I didn't really enjoy that. So, I like the group features. I enjoyed the group features. I think that is very cool, and it is an interesting way to look at actual monster design, because you got multiple goblins. Every single goblin has the same thing. For example, in D&D, you have the wolf, and all of them, every single wolf has pack tactics. So you just group them by wolf, and then you know that every single one has that. Yeah. What I didn't like, let's write that down. Okay, let's just move this up a bit. I didn't really like the fact that it is, what's the word? Oh yeah, I didn't like the default stats. I hated that as a thing for new players. Default stats, not great for new, yeah, not great for new people. I also was not a fan of the, what is it called? I don't know. I'm not a fan that there's not much else, right? I like the, to have general stats and stats for types. This is the thing, though. I do agree with you that adding variety that still feels similar and stats for types, I get that. Drakonym doesn't use stats, though, so it's kind of useless to have default stats when players aren't rolling for things. I don't want to default certain things like health, right? Or damage, for example. I also don't want to default things like size, because, yeah, while something is 1x1, I think it's always useful to just have that on a page. If we look at it from a Drakonym perspective, the default stats in Nimble are speed, size, and armor seem to be the key ones here. And range is also there too, but it's not something I'm looking at. Drakonym, I think we could literally just write range as R1 or 1 square, like 1 SQ even. What Nimble is trying to do here is take something that is usually half a page and simplify it down to, you know, quarter or less. I don't need to worry about that. It is not a design goal for this game to be just really small, so that's fine. I don't need to worry about that. Didn't like the default stats. I also didn't like that there's no I don't know, description, no instincts, instincts or behaviors. Instinct or behavior. Like, as a herald, I completely get that sometimes you want to fill in your own lore, right? That's absolutely fine. But I want to know how they would act. Here, it just says, you've got money, they want money, a perfect match, hand it over. Okay, I like that. That is pretty good. That tells me about the group. But what would a minion want? Does a minion want to be surrounded by allies? Does a bandit, a bruiser, want to be up front? Does a hunter want to always stay at range? Like, what is the vibe of each one? Because a mage, absolutely, they want to stay at range. But does that mean they're going to stay at range and target the strongest ally that you have on your side? These are the questions that come up for me. But no, I like Nimble. I'll set the book aside over here, and then I can come back to this when we do our legendary monsters. Right. This is my favorite RPG of all time. It is called Quest, and I'm just going to tell the light because it is a gorgeous, gorgeous book. It is a beautiful, beautiful book. We've already gone over design goals at the beginning. I swear you were here. We'd already gone over all of this. But I'll transition back if that's helpful. So the top level design goals were fun to run, easy to pass, functional in solo, thematically engaging, balanced, that's meh, and then challenging. Doesn't mean hard to fight, means you have to think when you're fighting them. That is it. Cool. So let's get back to this. Let's switch over to that. So Quest, this is my favorite RPG of all time. It is so well written, so fun. It is perfect for new players. It is like, yeah, functionally an amazing, amazing RPG. So let's have a look at this one. Here we go. So I do believe this game doesn't actually do stat blocks in the traditional sense. It's been a while since I've played it, so I need to have a look. 162. 162, 162. Here we go. 162. There we are. So they are very, very simple to run. Like, my God, you could not be easier. Just HP and attack, right? It is like a board game. And that's what I really enjoyed about this. I could literally jump into a game, play it, jump back out with no real issue. And it was perfect for solo because I could just run it and I know, okay, the minions always have 4 HP, they always have 2 attack, and it was the lore added on top that made them interesting. It didn't need a huge bestiary because it had everything here. It had commoners, minions, and bosses. Those are the 3 archetypes you usually get into like situations with. So yeah, really easy to run. It gave you a list of features for them as well, so you could kit them out as you wanted. Really good for on-the-fly character creation and on-the-fly battles. I really enjoyed it. What I didn't like was the fact that it was so simple. It meant that the variety of monster was putting a lot of pressure on the Herald, or the GM in this case, to create unique monsters. There was nothing already predetermined. So, for example, if I wanted to create a boss, yeah, great, I can create a boss with, you know, a few unique abilities. But then to create another one, I'd have to then do that again, make sure that they're slightly different. The familiarity between bosses became very apparent. You know, it was quite easy to run them, but also 2 bosses were very similar because they didn't have anything else. But having said that, really enjoyed running them because, my God, was it easy to do. I never needed to really think. I just went, okay, he's going to hit you for 4 damage. So I really, really enjoyed the static numbers because it meant players always knew what was coming. So let's note that down. So, Quest. Quest is free to play, by the way. If you haven't checked it out already, go and check it out. What I like the super simple stats. I like that it's templated. And I also enjoy the, what's it called? Ability list. Come on. Just go down. There we go. Didn't like. Let's go to didn't like. I didn't like the no traditional. Just get rid of that. There's no traditional stat blocks. I don't want to say traditional. No lists of monsters. Pressure on GM. And I don't know, there was no variety. No variety, really. You know, I guess it does tie into that. Like, due to the variety, the ability list, you absolutely have variety. But then because of the ability list is very limited, you don't have variety because eventually you'll run into the same abilities again and again. The uniqueness comes from the multiple options you have to contend with, not the uniqueness of each ability itself. So it's kind of a double-edged sword here. I'd say it's a bit of a grey area, the no variety in the ability list, so they kind of go off of each other. But still, huge fan of Quest. I really recommend people try it. It is a game that I have looked at, and I will be inspired by it for the Bramble Trek rules. There is a lot here that is to love, and I actually think it's a really good way for people to get started with the roleplay. So yeah, it is something I'm looking at heavily at the minute. So that's why I wanted to bring it in here. But yeah, that's that. I don't think there's any point looking back at this again, because it doesn't really have the what's the word, legendary monster vibes, so don't need to look at that. Then we have Daggerheart. Daggerheart is an interesting one. I do enjoy Daggerheart a lot. I think it's there's a lot of fun to be had. I think that there's a lot of interesting takes that they do. What I don't like about Daggerheart is it was promised to be a fresh take on RPGs in general, with brand new takes on the classic fantasy archetypes. It feels the exact same as something like D&D, and that's fine. There is nothing wrong with that. Hell, I actually prefer it that way, because it's a nice step for those people coming from D&D into the new RPG era of things. I just wish they didn't say that, so my expectations were set differently. That's the only issue I have with it. But overall, it is a good game. I think that there is a lot to love about Daggerheart. And, you know, let's be honest, the creators have done so much for the industry. I think it would be rude not to, you know, accept that as well. Okay. Let's look at some stat blocks. Right, tier 2. I will say I love the organization in this book. My God, is it good. I enjoy the fact that it's all tiered out by the adversary tier. So I can know, all right, my party is this level. I can instantly go and see what can be in that range. What I don't want to do, though, is have lists within list. So, for example, tier 1 and then location. It's an interesting one. But yeah, so that's the thing. It does have a mechanical shift. Imery, what I was not a big fan of was the fact that they promised a slight tonal shift in terms of the fantasy archetypes. That's what I was annoyed by. It was the promise of one thing, delivery of another. But that's a personal opinion, so I'm not going to hold that against the game. They did what they promised, and they delivered on what they promised. So they don't have the traditional bandit, but what they do have is the Jagged Knife Bandit. I think that is the closest thing we're going to get, so we'll just use that as a base. Let me know if you can read that, and then we can go from there. Okay. So, the Jagged Knife Bandit, tier 1 standard, a cunning criminal in a cloak bearing one of the gang's iconic knives. Very cool, very informative. Difficulty, motives and tactics. Escape, profit, steal, throw smoke. See, that is absolutely perfect. I love that. I really enjoy it when games have actual descriptions for what their goals are. Because right now, yes, you can fight this creature and you know that it's got HP of 5. But you know, potentially, that you could fight this thing, and the goal for that combat round could be to stop it from stealing something. It doesn't need to be defeat it until it dies. It can just be, oh, actually, its goal is to steal. I'm going to make this combat a focus on this object that it's trying to get. You guys, the goal is not to defeat it. Obviously, that's a solution, but stopping it from stealing this item is enough to win that combat. That, perfect. I love that. Then you got the stats. So difficulty 12, thresholds, HP, stress, attack, daggers, and then the damage on the dagger, and then an experience. So the experiences are interesting because they're basically perks. It says that when it tries to steal something, it gets +2 on that roll. That is interesting to me. And I think that is a really, really nice way to also tie back into those tactics again. So you see how they work really well together, and I'm a big fan of that. Then you got the passive features. I think they're good enough. I think that I like the fact that it says what it is, and then if it's a passive, or you can see down here we got action. I like that. Really good stuff. Not a fan of the rolling for damage. I just for timing purposes, I think, let's say you're running several of these bandits, rolling for all of their damages can get a bit costly in terms of time, which is why you see 45 to 3-hour combats in D&D and stuff. So I like it. I think it's interesting to look at from a perspective of its design. So let's see Daggerheart. Daggerheart, I love the motives. I really do. I'm a big fan of that. Motives and tactics. I like the experience. Big fan of experience. I think it's really cool. Experience, ties, and then just experience, and then it ties nicely into that, and then back and forth as well. I like the layout. I'll be honest. I kind of like the card style layout, because that's the other thing they do as well. Online you can get adversary cards, which is really nice because you can just design them, print them out, and you have them at your table. Love that. I really like the layout, so we'll just give them a bonus on that too. Now, what I didn't like, well, God, did he? Let's not write that. Didn't. I didn't like the rolling damage. It's something common though. Most of these things are obviously there as well, but I don't like rolling damage. You know, it's just not something I really enjoy. I think that it is not great. So I don't like rolling damage. I enjoy the passives and the features, but I actually think there's a lot here. I think there's too much information. You know, like the main problem that I have with games like D&D is just that stat blocks are so long. Like, okay, right here, there's one that is going off of that. Look how many features it has. It doesn't need this many. This thing has got 7 HP. When are you ever going to use all of these? It's never going to happen. I like that some of them are reactions, but we've got interruptions, so we don't really need any of this. Well, but to be fair, you could reduce this down completely. I love the countdown though. That is very cool. I like the use of clocks. Add that in. I like the use of clocks there. Yeah, love the use of clocks. I just think there's too much info. I think you could really pass this down to the bare bones information. But honestly, the only thing that's stopping me from using a layout like this is the rolling for damage, you know? But also, there is something about like the motives and tactics that feels a bit blank to me. I get its motivation, but I don't know what that does in combat for me, you know? So I didn't like the lack of combat motivation, combat tactics. Like, yeah, okay, that's great that it's going to escape, profit, steal, and throw smoke, but in combat, what does that mean? I guess escape and throw smoke, it's going to keep trying to run away. But I don't know, I just need more from this, I think. Yeah, like grapple, intimidate, profit, steal. Yeah, I like that. And intimidate is good as well. I don't know. I feel like I feel like a one-liner for each of these could be better than all of these features. I feel like a one-line here. So tell me what command means, what hex means, instead of these features, or like pass these down into simplified versions, then expand on this. That would be better. But that's just my opinion. So that's Daggerheart. Yeah, good book. I'd say if you've not tried it, I do recommend at least trying it once. I think it can be a lot of fun, and you might find a game that works for you, you know? That's always worth giving a go. Right. let's look at Golem Wood. Now, this is technically a 5e book. It is a 5e source book, but it is also touted as its own RPG, so I'm kind of curious to see how it works. Let's see. We'll look at someone basic, the bandits. Oh man, we don't have a bandit. Ah, that is annoying. Maybe 104. Let's see. Okay, cool. That's perfect then. So we've got some here then. Got animals. We've got the peddler, the pilgrim, the priest, merchant, storyteller. Let's just do thief, page 107. I think that makes sense to me. Yeah, cool. Let's do thief robber. I think that makes sense. And I'll just zoom in. Okay. Thief, robber. Size typed by kindred. So basically, depending on the kin, it changes size. Sentient, any alignment. Okay, that makes sense. Level 3, AC of 14, HP of 3d4 or 7. Saves, love that. I am a huge fan of that. I love the DRHBS. Really nice. I love the attack with a weapon. It's +1. Its speed is 30. Morale is 8. Oh, I like morale. Well, I do enjoy morale. Technically, I've already got morale mechanics in the Herald's Guide, but we could always look at that more. Oh God. Golem Wood. And then we'll just say like. And I'll say morale. I do enjoy that. Okay. Gear. I enjoy that they list a gear. I think that's a lot of fun. So you know that its weapons get a +1. That's longsword and 3 silver daggers. Instantly, that is really nice. They've not even listed the attacks separately. They just tell you that it's got a longsword with a 1d8. You know instantly what that does. Like, I don't even need to read more. I know that it can do damage with either a longsword or 3 daggers. Really, really nice. Like the layout. The layout is really good. Companions are cool. I like that. Companions are pretty cool. Yeah. And backstab. So this is a perk, I assume. Backstab is +4 attack with a dagger, does 3d4 damage. But what's the drawback? Like, that's the thing I'm a bit annoyed about. There's no drawback here, which means that this is quite a powerful thing to do. I might be missing a rule, obviously, but this is the thing I mean about quickly passing something. If I don't understand what that means at a moment's notice, then how am I going to quickly run it? And that's where I'm speaking from. So let's just say we didn't like, and we'll just say abilities. Love the layout, and I also love the inventory. I think it's really nicely done, and it's not too hard to do for every single thing. Okay. Golem was quite good. I do enjoy it. I think what we got to realize as well, some of these not great for solo in terms of the exactly. You have to know what is coded in, what's not. But I like Golem Wood. I highly recommend if you haven't read it already. It is a great setting. So a real big fan of that. Then we come into the big boy, the new big boy that has come out of nowhere and just taken over. Okay. Draw steel. I like Draw Steel a bit. I think that there's a lot to love about it. I also think there's a lot it does that I don't agree with. For example, why why a class is 41 pages long. Like, the draw steel classes have so much information. I think it's too much. You know? It doesn't make sense to me. There was something that really bothered me. I tried to play it. I tried to build a character. There was so much information to read. The only time it worked was when I was looking at the quick start guide that had all the information in it. Got rid of a bunch of stuff. But I don't like having to read multiple pages when I'm trying to put something together. That's the problem I have. Anyway, we're looking at monsters though. I will say, Draw Steel has great credits in terms of its design, because it comes from the same people who made Flea Mortals, which is by far one of the greatest D&D bestiaries ever created. I love it. So let's have a look at this. Bandits. Bandit. No bandits. But we'll look at something similar. Humans. We'll just look at humans. 180. I will say, big fan of the art. You know. Really nice stuff. Hobgoblins. Humans. Here we go. So, humans. We'll look at Human Raider. That's bandity. So we'll look at Human Raider. Okay, cool. Right. I know it's not going to be like perfectly readable, but is it passable for you guys? That's a real question. So let me know if that is. So just going to check something. Cool. Cool. Right. So I'll be completely upfront. I absolutely despise the Draw Steel layout. I am not a fan of it at all, because, and I'm going to just point it out here, I'll show you what we were promised, actually, and that might help you understand why I'm so upset. So, where is it? So we were promised something similar to, oh my god, it's a hard one to, here we go. So this is what we were promised, right? This sort of layout. Gorgeous. Absolutely beautiful. Okay? I'm going to show you what we were given. This is what we were given. So I'll do that again. This is what we were promised, right? This is what was really nice. I loved it. I was so excited. Got all really hyped up. This is what we got. If you can tell me that that is like not unfair when it comes to like delivery, I don't know what to tell you. I just do not think that you should be able to get away with that, because those are different layouts. They are completely different books. This is not the same as this. I don't care who you are. You cannot tell me that that is not like false advertising. Now, having said that, I completely and utterly appreciate that Draw Steel has a target market of the 4E, the like 4th edition style of play, bringing it into the modern time. Absolutely. You know, I have no issue with that. The issue I have is, do not promise me this. Don't show that as a layout possibility when what you're going to deliver is this. Now, I will completely put my hands up and say I am someone who has changed layout drastically, right? Absolutely. I have changed my layouts from complete scratch, and I'm not even going to try and deny that that's a thing. Like I will show you right now. If I go to backer kit, you know, like you look at a game like, yeah, like Comers of Midnight is a really good example. You know, the layout was very basic to begin with, and it had the artwork, it had the tables. I went for something really, really basic. But then I decided to upgrade it because I learned more about how to do layout. And you can see pages like this now where it's like black or white with white text. It's really thematic, but that's because I learned more as a creator. It's a step forward for me personally, right? This is not it. Rant over. I have a lot of thoughts about layout. This is not one of my favorite ones, so I am sorry if I disappear, like sort of went on a tangent there. Let's get back to monster design. Let me know if you're interested in me talking about layout and how I come up with layout and stuff, because I'd love to discuss it at some point. But I don't know how many people are interested in design, so it is one of those things. But let's get back to this. So I like the colored sort of like coordination here. I enjoy that some are in blue, some are in red, but again, I don't know what that means, which is a bit annoying. I have no idea what that means. Love this. I really enjoy I mean, you can see that Drakonym has a very similar layout currently, but that's because I got the inspiration from here. Love the fact that everything's on one line. So easy to read. I know that that's one medium. I know its speed is 7, stamina is 4, stability is 0, and its free strike is 1. Cool. I love the immunities. I love the weaknesses. I know that if it, its movement type is just walking because it's default, but I also know that if it's with its captain, it gains an edge on strikes. Love the table here for damage. Really big fan of that. Again, signature ability being on the left-hand side and the right-hand side, great. Really good. Do not like that it is laid out in a way that it's kind of like, okay, hand axes 2d10 plus 2. I know that's its signature ability. I know it's its main action, and I know it can only target up to one creature. What I noticed here, they've gone for a very video game-esque layout with the symbols and stuff, but they're all game developers, so this makes perfect sense to me. I also enjoy the effect. I also enjoy that the special abilities are laid out at the bottom. Now, what I don't like is that they run into the same problem as D&D. So we'll look at one of their big boss creatures. All right. So this is a single creature, by the way. Let me just switch back to this. So this is a single creature. All of this. It's got the same problem, block bloat. It's got so much info. It's so difficult to pass. And the reason for this is every single attack has its own table. That is why. Because every single one needs a minimum of 3 items per roll, you suddenly cannot have multiple actions without it bloating up the entire thing. It's not their fault. In a case of they designed it in a way that they required this, but I genuinely believe you don't need it. So what do I like? Let's do draw steel. I like the simplicity of it. I am a really, really huge fan of the fact that all the stats are laid out at the top. I know its immunity, I know its weaknesses, I know its movement. So easy to pass stats. Like, it's super easy to pass. Like I really enjoy the dividers as well. Really good. I'm not gonna hate them on that at all. I'll also say it's got simplified stats themselves are quite good. I like the fact that they're all on one line, but that comes into the easy to pass stuff. I like that everything. I love the dividers. Dividers are fantastic. I am also a big fan of the fact that their roll to hit is a bit different. So you just roll for damage, and then you've just got 3 results. But I don't know if that's a like. or something I'd want to bring into Drakonym. So I'm just going to say it's a like for the context of it. It's not a like in terms of I'm going to move this into Drakonym. Didn't like. Bloat. I am not a fan. Like, that's the thing. I like the fact that they have tables. I also hate the fact that they have tables because the tables mean that everything gets bloated out. Why? A4, mind you. Why is a single creature this long? I am absolutely for it. And this is partly the issue that happened with Drakonym, right? Because you had a creature like Carver and Cathalark, his dragon. They needed long stat blocks in order to cover everything that they can do. But every time I look at them and try to run them, it's actually really hard to do so. So, yeah. I hate the tables for every attack. Like, I'll be completely honest. You could replace all of this and change it to literally just, oh, okay, you roll 1d12 plus whatever damage. Even if you roll a 1, you're still going to hit. Because the rules are you always hit. So why does everything need its tables? Do you know what I mean? Like, that's where I'm at. Tables for every attack is the thing I hate. I'm also not a big fan of the fact that there's a lot of information here. Signature ability, I don't need to know that. Main action, it's really not. I don't need to know that either. You could just put an M here. I like that they've got triggered actions, so which are reactions, but what, bear with me here, but why do we have this symbol and this? If this means this, why do I not just have this? What is the point of either of these? Either have one or the other. Do not have both. Because now what it means for me is, I actually don't know. You know, does this mean main action? I know this is special action, but why, if that's a special action, is it not listed there? What if I didn't know that? So why have we got the action symbol here with the signature ability? And then you've got this little like exclamation point that says triggered action. If you're going to have symbols in order to alleviate the need for words, don't have both. Either choose a symbol, have a key from the beginning, or make the symbols so easy to understand that you don't need to have anything, and then be done with it. I think there's a lot of bloat here. I'm not a big fan of the bloat, so we'll just write bloat. Cool. Okay. That is draw steal. I will not be coming back to this. There is not a lot I want to steal from it. I like the easy to pass stuff, so we'll come back to this later. We won't come back to this later. Okay. That brings us to a very quick one, just to go over, is Basic Fantasy. I'm a real big fan of Basic Fantasy. I think it's an interesting game to look at if you're looking at, you know, generally fantasy roleplay. Because one, the entire rule set is free online. So you can grab this for nothing. And it has a lot of the classic D&D stuff. So we'll just, oh God, I don't want that. I wonder actually, I wonder if I can like focus it myself. Ah, that's better. There we go. So yeah, basic role-playing fantasy, very nice. Rolls, monsters, salamander, parrot, leech, giant, boar, bat. Look for bandit. Bandit. No, there's not traditional bandit. So what we'll do is just use this, which is a barkling. Only because the art is so funny. And they look like bandits to me, so we'll just take them. Alright. So barkling. So this is the thing, right? Look at how much information is, you know, let's just change the autofocus. I think there's no point. Look at how much information is here. This entire thing, from here down to here, plus all of this is all about the Barkling. That's too much information. That's way too much. I'm not going to read all of that. I just need to know how much damage can it do. You know, what's its movement? Blah, blah, blah. Like, see, this makes no sense to me. Save as normal man. What does that mean? Morale 9, yeah, I know what that means. Okay, treasure type, absolutely. Okay, cool, I get that. XP 10, perfect. Movement, 20 feet. Unarmored, 40 feet, perfect. That is so easy to pass. Damage, 1d4 bite, 1d4 bite, or by weapon. Absolutely fine. I have no issue with that. Hit points, half. Hit dice, sorry, half. 1d4 hit points. Okay, fine, whatever. Armor class 15 or 11. I am assuming that's 15 with armor, 11 without. Save as normal man. That means I have to go look for normal man, grab that. Too much. There is enough space here to just write what it is. See, that's one of my problems with it. This is going to sound really bad, but there's not a lot I like about fantasy roleplay. Like, I think the stats are easy to pass, but I'll just call it FRP. I know it's called basic roleplaying, isn't it? Basic RP. I like easy stat layout. Like, I'll be honest, I like the table. It's really easy to look at and go, all right, oh, what's its health? Boom. What damage does it do? Boom. I like that. I think that's all I like, though. I don't like lore bloat or lore fluff. It's too much. I also don't like the what is it called when you have to go too much referencing. Too much referencing. Actually, yeah, today what we'll do, we'll only look at the basic what's the word? The basic bandit. We'll design that, and then we'll do the legendary one another day. I think that's probably easier than trying to do both today. Too much bloat. I don't like the referencing. Hime, feel free to send me a list now if you want. It would be kind of nice to, if there are any, please recommend some, because I've got the PC as well, so I can just grab the PDF. We can look through it as well. I love it. I do, you know, I'll give it to them. I like the treasure. I think loot tables are fun. So we'll add that in. I like loot. I think that's fine. Yeah, we won't be coming back to this because this is terrible. I will say it is a good game. It is genuinely quite fun to play. I'm gonna give it cross-reference. Cross-referencing. Too much cross-referencing. Too much. Bloat. Cross. Referencing. Right. Not bad though, as a game, I will say. And then we come to a game made by a friend of mine, Mythcraft. I actually think I'm listed here as a partner somewhere, not maybe in this one, but definitely in the core rulebook. Oh, there I am. Oh, I can't see it. Wah, 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 wah. There I am. Crossed paths. Right there. So, that's nice. That's cute. Okay. Let's go to the actual book and start figuring out what it is we're trying to do. Okay. So, we'll look for bandit. Obviously, if we can't find it, we'll just look for something really close. They don't have bandits. Wilderguard, 189. Okay. You know what? To be fair, we don't have to look at the bandit itself, because what we can do is just look for like the basic enemy. I think a goblin could do as well, actually. Look for a goblin. Oh my god, there's no goblins either. Sorry, my mic might be too close. There's no goblins. Wardens. Let's do wardens. 181. Warden. Oh my god. It's just like... There's got to be something at the back, right? There has to be. Bandit, 218. Okay, fantastic. 218. Bandit! There it is. Found it. Let's go. Alright, let's zoom in. And then, there. Yeah, cool. Okay, so, let's see. This runs into the exact same problem as D&D. Too much information. I do not need this many attacks on a bandit. It's got a move, it's got the falchion, it's got the short bow. I do not need move. The bandit can move up to its speed. Why do I need that? Like, get rid of that. Reach 5 feet. Okay, that can be simplified down. I like the hit, 1d6 plus 1. Sharp. I guess that's a damage type. Okay, that's simple enough to understand. Exploit. I like the reactions. I do like the way it's split up, but it does the same thing as D&D. There's a lot of bloat that means that the whole thing is very vertically heavy. It's not giving you enough information in a single section in order to be useful anywhere. We don't have skills, so we can actually get rid of all of this. We also don't need to really worry about this stuff with the stats, because all we need is HP, defense, speed, and then maybe some resistances if they have it. I'm not going to write any likes or dislikes, because I think this falls into the, like, D&D for me is the it's the marker for the beginning. I think it's got things I really like. It's also got things I don't like. I'm not going to give this a like or dislike, because I think it's almost identical to a D&D stat block, which means that there's not really much I can take from it from a design perspective. So it's unfortunate. But there isn't really much that I can look at and go, oh yeah, I want to use that for Drakonym. I think this is too basic for me. So unfortunately, we will not be coming back to Mythcraft, because they do not do anything differently that I think would be useful. Right. Let's look at Dungeons and Dragons. I know. We're here now. We're at that point. So, D&D. I am going to be completely honest. I am a big fan of this monster manual. I think that there's a lot it does differently. All right, well. Before you crucify me in any way, shape, or form, I like it compared to the 2014 rulebook. I think it does a lot of things differently, and I think it's moving in steps in the right direction. I do not think it's perfect by any means, but I think as someone who played D&D for years, this is a nice step forward. So, let's look at it. I love this. I am a big fan of the how to use a monster guide, because these are really quick reference and actually really useful to a DM. So, really good stuff. All right, let's see. Bandit, 27. Right. All right, there we go. So this is what I like about it now. They've actually changed a lot. They've now sort of cleaned up the stats a bit, or the actual attributes for creatures. I still don't understand why they have a mod and a save and the normal number. I genuinely believe you can just have like the save. I actually don't think they need the mod number at all, because usually a creature is never going to make a check. And to be honest, I wouldn't be that mad, especially looking at this. They're the same. What you could do is just have the number with the modifier. So for example, here you just have 13, and then say in a separate line, oh, its dex gets a +3 to saves. Instantly, so easy to pass and understand. I like the fact that it's got AC there. I like the fact it's got initiative. I like the static initiative. That is really nice. I love that, because it instantly tells me where it can go. I don't even need to roll for it. And that was one of the biggest things that people had an issue with, rolling for initiative. This makes it so much easier. Anyway, speed, yeah, but genuinely I believe speed could be moved maybe up there, but I imagine that space for, what's it called, like vulnerabilities and stuff. Actions, again, really easy to understand. I like the roll to hit, 5, 4, done. So this is the thing. It is more about what it can do rather than anything else. I also am a big fan now that they've added in descriptors. So, for example, here, bandits use the threat of violence to take what they want. Such criminals, including gang members, desperados, and lawless mercenaries. Yet, not all bandits are motivated by greed. This is the thing. They're starting to do that motivation thing. They're starting to do the tactic thing, but they don't do enough of it for me to actually be like, oh, okay, this is really good. So I actually really enjoy this as a stat block. I think I could pass this quite easily. If someone said to me, oh, how much damage should it do? Right, well, it can do a scimitar or a light crossbow. They both have a +3 to attack, and they both do, one does 1d6 and then the other does d8. I like the fact it's got static numbers. My god, I don't even need to roll for it. I can instantly tell you a scimitar does 4 damage, 4 slashing. The light crossbow does 5 piercing. That is what I want. I love this like that. Issue I have is tactics. I have no idea how they would act inside the game. That is what is missing here. So good stuff here. I'm gonna just write it down. I do like the D&D. We got static damage and reasonably easy to pass. I'll say credit where credit is due. They've done a good job in upgrading this. So yeah. What I'm a bit concerned about, though, is it's very clear to me they've designed these as NPCs, not as enemies. Do you know what I mean? Like, they are more focused on the things they can do in and out of combat than just the combat stuff. And I get that. But you don't need to give an NPC, like, stuff like languages, I don't think. You don't need to really worry about their senses and stuff. That's my opinion, though. Anyway, D&D. And that brings me to the end of my list. There was another game I wanted to look at, though, actually. It's called Distal. I have an interesting relationship with this game in terms of I've played it. It's not really something I found a lot of fun with, but it doesn't mean it's a bad game by any means. It's just not something I want to play. But it ran into the same problem I had with D&D 2014. First off, the font size on this is way too big. So it's actually really hard to pass because there's a lot of information thrown at you in a single area. I like the fact that it's got a, like, I don't like the fact that it's got like a quote from the creature on here. Don't know why that's needed. I also am not a big fan of I love the desperation thing. I enjoy the fact that I'm assuming desperation is more a case of when it gets low, this happens. Love that. I also enjoy the ASSS, like attack, spell, right? Really enjoy that. Really clear, really easy to pass. And I enjoy the behaviors are rolled with a D4. This is a good action table. I do enjoy that. I think that's very cool. The problem I have again is I need more. There just needs to be a bit more here. So I'm not going to look at the bandit for this one because I'm just not a big fan of the overall system. Again, it's not something I hate. It's just more I can't really see myself running it long term. So we won't be using that as inspiration. Right. Let's come back to me. Hello, it's me. How's everyone doing? So we looked at a lot of games today. I will say that there is a lot I like. There's also a lot I really don't like. So let's look at what's achieved the design goals, what hasn't achieved the design goals, and then we'll go from there. Right. We'll look at some other games as well in a bit, but I think it's important. You know what? Let me just take a quick break and I will be right back. See if I can grab this thing. And then let's just add in some text. God, this is going to be so bad. Okay. Right. This is so bad. Right. Okay, let's do that. Oh my God. Okay. Or just up that, change this. Okay, I'll be right back. I am making tea. It's a whole ritual that I need to go through when I'm making tea. But I've got my cup of tea now. I am all good. So there we go. Okay. So let's have a think about what we want to achieve with this. I think that's going to be like a good way to keep going with this, because I think there's a lot of interesting ideas brought forward. I think there's a lot of interesting things I've uncovered now. So let's get back to this and see which titles actually achieve these goals. So fun to run. I think that's a difficult one because, again, it really speaks to the game itself and the herald who's playing it, not particularly the actual way it's designed. But if I had to say it from a perspective of on a just basic level, which ones would I want to run the most? I actually genuinely believe the we'll look at I think Dungeon World doesn't really fit that. I'd say Nimble is definitely fun to run. I think it's really quick to pass and actually run it as a system. Yeah, really good. Quest is fun to run, if not, but heavy to make. I think there's a lot of responsibility put on the person. So I'm only going to talk about the ones I've actually played. So this is more personal opinion as well. Daggerheart was okay. This is an interesting one. I liked running the monsters. I did not like having to spend fear in order to do certain things, which is why I got rid of shadow marks in the end. Didn't like the fear system. If we're looking at just stat block, Daggerheart is on there as well, because I did enjoy running them. Dollarwood, I haven't played it. I've read it, not played it, so I can't really give an opinion. Draw Steel, I'll be completely honest, was not fun to run. I liked the fact that I felt like a tactical genius running them. I hated actually running them because, Jesus Christ, there was so much to read. So that wasn't fun. Basic roleplay was absolute, yeah, it was terrible. D&D, I do actually have fun running D&D monsters. I do enjoy them. I think 2024 was fun to run. Easy to pass. So we will just drop this down to that. And then we'll do the same here. Easy to pass. So let's see, which ones did we say were easy to pass? Nimble, super easy to pass. Quest was also really easy to pass. Yeah, we liked the Daggerheart layout as well. Big fan of Dolan Woods layout. Draw Steel was easy to pass as well. Basic roleplaying there. And then, yeah, D&D. But that's basically all of them. I will say, they all are really easy to look at and understand what they do. Functional is solo. Honestly, I don't actually... I think the only one that is going to be fun to run in, or able to be run in solo, it's probably Daggerheart because of the tactic system they've got. Maybe Nimble. Maybe. I'm going to put a question mark next to it. I can't really see myself running Quest solo. I tried. Actually, no, I could... Wait, a couple of years ago, I tried Quest solo, but I don't think I fought anyone. I think it was more a narrative story. No, I did. I actually could run it because it was very simple. It just told me what it did. It was very board gamey. Thematically engaging. All right. I'll give that to Nimble. I'll also give it to Quest because it's the custom thing. I like that. Not going to give it to Daggerheart. I don't think it's thematically engaging. Oh, that's a good cup of tea. That is a good cup of tea. All right. I will give it to Draw Steel as well, actually. Because I will say all of their abilities are built around the creature, so I like that. No, not basic roleplaying. I also don't think D&D can take anything from that. Get rid of Nimble there. Balance, it will get rid of balanced because that's not really that. Yeah. Challenging. Okay. I don't think Nimble's one is challenging. I don't think there's really much to solve. Daggerheart's one, for sure. I like that. I like the fact they've got the experience thing. The experience thing is so cool. Real big fan of that. Quest, not challenging at all. Draw Steel. Yeah, I like the fact that they've got certain abilities and stuff. Dolanwood also has some stuff that makes them a bit more interesting. And I think that's it. So, looking back at this list, the games that main focuses, like I'd say the game has to be at least be the answer to at least 3 to look at. Now, this is just these ones. I know that there are tons more games that you guys have looked at, so I would love to know if there's any games that you love to run as well. Nimble. I'd look at Daggerheart. And Quest made it on there as well, and Draw Steel. So I think there's a lot to love with some of these titles. So let's bring us to one that was brought in by a... Oh god, it's going to open up all my games, isn't it, in a second. Here we go. Cool. All right. There was a game brought up, so let me see if I've got it, and we'll see from there. Let's look at... Oh, it was Rift Breakers. Here it is, Rift Breakers. Let's disable scrolling. You guys see it? Yes, we can. Let me move this over. Close this one. Bring it to the center. Okay. We'll do fit to height. And then, yeah, cool. Bestiary. Creature types. Okay. Monster descriptions, here we go. Bandits. Good lord. Right. Someone who owns a physical book. Is this A4 or is this A5? Why are they single page? I do not like that at all. I'm going to just put it out there. I like the D6 table. I think that's fun. Okay? Big fan of that. This is too much for a single page because that is why this book is so big. Let's just have a look. Rift Breakers TTRPG. Let's have a look. I'm going to go by the Kickstarter because that's based on that. It will be what the creator intended. So, PDF, print on demand, a soft 2E soft cover. All right. Okay. Well, let's just see what they intend it to be. All right. Here we go. Soft cover, standard color, large. Okay. This tells me that the book is 7 by 10 inches, which I believe is about A5. Yeah, there we go. A5. Oh, my God. Let me just do this. A4 in inches is 8 by 11. 7 by 10 is about A4. Okay, so his intention when writing this seems to be A4 because all of this is based on large. I'll take that into consideration then. For A4, A5, I think this is perfect. I think it's really clear, really easy to pass on an A5 book. Absolutely fine. For an A4, this is way too much. Look at all the empty space here, right? We look at it from a layout perspective, that is way too much. So I'm not a fan of that. Let's look at it from a gameplay perspective. Actions 1, we don't need stats, so we can get rid of them. So we'll just look at the core stats we need. Actions, movement, health, and protection. Maybe the type as well. I'd move this up here. You know what? Let's do this. Okay. We'll tweak. Actually, you know what? It's probably quicker to close up Photoshop. It's gonna crash everything now. Right, we'll load up Affinity. And then look at it from that perspective. Buddy, stop it, please. Ah, no. Go back. And we'll just make this thing. All right. Cool. So here is how I would tweak this up. Let's start just passing this information out. So I would go pixel, right, cool. I take this and I would, good Lord. Right. I take that and move it up there. Like, I think that would be good there. I kind of like the description, so we'll leave that there. I would then, I'm going to get rid of the ones that we don't need. Yeah, get rid of the ones that we don't need. And I'll also just keep the ones that we would use. This is going to be so scuffed, but it'll be fine. Oh my god, that's so bad. Fine. Then we'll do that one. Teddy, come on. Be chill, bro. Just really. All right. Be chill, bro. It's just a vibe. Right. Number, I mean, that's not really necessary. I want protection. Which are protection as well. Good lord. Right. Protection is Gucci there. Alright, which means I can get rid of all of the rest. So let's bring that up, bring that, and then cancel that out. Good lord. Right. Just do this. Cut that, paste that back in, move that above, then go like that. And then we'll just go, I don't think this needs to be there. I think that we can add that in and then do it like this. Then we can cut all of this out. So that's that. That is how I would do it. What is it? So move, protection. All right. Let me just do this. Because I do think that there is something to think. No, I'm not going to do that because I feel like that's going to be a bit. Yeah. Okay, cool. Boom. Boom, boom, boom. Good lord. Right, don't need that. Yeah. Okay. So that was the old one. That is my take. Obviously, there is a lot that you could still do to hit this. For example, I would probably move actions up here, move up here, health up there, protection up there, and then put them all on one line. So then you get another line free. But you can already see, like, there is a lot that you can do to, you know, sort of like bring it down a bit in terms of its size. That's just my opinion, though. So, okay, let's look at what I like. I like the listed details. I think it's really clean, really easy to pass. I know exactly what it does. I think this is way too much information. This is like, there was a study done about tables in this sociology thing. I can't remember where it is now, but I need to find it. But basically, tables that have a certain number of titles, and the titles are not on a single row, and instead passed into another row, are much harder to read than ones that are sort of laid out like that. So, because usually you read top X and Y axis and then meet up at the middle. Because of the way that this is done, it's actually really hard to read, even though it's only on 2 lines. It's just a mental thing where we look for certain lines of information. It's harder to read for us when there's something blocking that information out. So it's just a theory there, but could be interesting to look at. I need to find that study again and read it, because it would be really good to understand it again. Anyway, I like the actions, I like the move, like the health, protection. I think those are very clear. I think it gives you a bit of space. Love the little pawn symbol for multiply this by the number of creatures you have. That is key. I love that. So that might be something that I add here to Drakonym. Really big fan of that. D6 action table. Yeah, really big fight. So I really like it. I like the idea of the way that it functions. So what we'll do, we'll just merge visible. We'll cut this out. Delete. Oh God. Okay. So that would be my take on the Rift Breakers thing. I do genuinely I do not enjoy that it's all taken up one page. As much as I get it, I'm not a fan. I'm sorry, Hime. I like the bit I can see what he's trying to do, but yeah, someone tell me I'm wrong, and you know, it's fair play, but I don't think I am. I think that this is not, it shouldn't be one page. I think you could fit 2 of them. Like, this whole thing at the bottom doesn't make sense to me. I actually don't know why you have that. You know, I think there's too much wasted space. Anyway, because that's the other thing as well, right? Imagine if you just halved it, like got rid of this top bit, got rid of this bottom bit, and shrunk the text up slightly by 1, what's it called, size. You could fit 2 per page. And then suddenly the book goes from, let's say, because if we're saying that each of them are 1 per page, we've got a bunch of creatures here. So we'll say Rift Lord is 219, but we'll just do monster description. So we'll go from Ancient Golem. So 222 up to page 311. There's 89 monsters in this book, right? That means there's 89 pages. If we said there's 2 per page, we could actually bring it from 321 to 365. No, not 365. 321 to 277. Sub 300. Yeah, okay. That makes sense to me. Anyway. Yeah, big fan of that. So let's go into Drakonym, and then we'll open that up and see where we're at. Okay. So this is where I'm at with this, right? The more and more I look at this, the less and less I actually enjoy it. All right, Teddy. What's up? What's up? Look at everyone. Gotta say hello. My God, why are you climbing up and up and up? Gotta say hello to everyone. Oh, come be good boy. Good boy. Yes, you are. Right. Yeah, so this was my one. So we'll just take that. No, actually, wait a second. Because we wanted to bring that into there. Then we'll just copy that out. I'm trying to think what the issue is here. I think the table was very good. I'm just not... I think that the instincts and the attacks need to match. I think someone mentioned that in the Discord, right? They need to be very similar. And I think having an intent table probably helped there. But then this is the thing, right? Swarm and stab without hesitation, that instantly tells me that that creature needs to run up, stab its thing, and keep doing that. I don't really need it to tell me anything more than that. Playing solo, this functions quite well. I know its instinct is to go up and run. And the target suffers 1 wound, I'm not rolling for it. It solves a lot of the problems I have. So, you know what, let's bring it back to those design question things again. So, right. Let's have a look at the design goals and see if, let me, what is it called? Your ref, there is. And we'll just bring that in there. Right, there we go. Okay. So, okay, cool. It's not always pinned to the top, is it? Anyway. Fun to run, subjective. Does it function in solo? I think so. I think if you know what its intentions are, running it in solo is quite easy. You know that its thing is always going to be to run up and attack. Swarm the enemy, attack them without hesitation. I like that. So I'm going to say yes, it does function in solo. Is it thematically engaging? I don't know. The rusted knife doesn't really give much theme. It just feels like a normal attack. I can't say yes to that. So give it orange. Yeah, we'll do this. And then symbols, emoji, green. Challenging. No, it's definitely not. It doesn't really give me much in terms of its solutions. So we'll just say red. Easy to pass. Yeah, absolutely. That is so easy to read. I'm not even going to deny that it's not. And then fun to run. Again, I think delete this because it doesn't really make sense. I think that's subjective, so we can, yeah. Right, so what are the issues we have at the minute? It's not challenging. It also is not thematically engaging 100%. How do we solve this is going to be the challenge I'm going to have over the next few days. Does anyone have any ideas? Because right now, enemies are reduced to their wounds down to from 10 to 0, or whatever to 0, win the combat. I love clocks, like the way the countdown system is done inside Dagheart, fantastic. That to me is very cool. But I'm just wondering if there's something that I can do in order to bring that into Drakonym without just saying, hey, use this clock. Because you can add clocks to anything as suddenly it introduces it. But I think it needs to be built into the enemy. So that's going to be a good question to have. But what we can do, we can come back to this. I think there's a really good place for me to jump off and consider all this. Because I think we've looked at some games together. I've gathered your thoughts, I've gathered mine I've taken notes. We've done really well. I also think it's worth us looking at Magic the Gathering. Because I think there's a lot there in terms of its monster designs, its card design. So I think next time what we'll do, we'll look at those to see. Because I genuinely believe they're challenging. Because you have to think about a card that says, oh, it's got immunity to this. You have to think about how to get around that. So I think that's a way to resolve that issue. And then for thematically engaging, well, that's what Magic cards are, right? They're designed to be thematically engaging to the card that you've got. So as much as I would love to keep going, I do need to go. It's the end of my work day, so I will need to jump off. But we can do this again. I'll check my calendar. If I've got time tomorrow, I'll do this tomorrow. And then we can see. But yeah. I will leave it there. I will thank you for all of your help. I will thank you for everyone who's been sat here going through everything with me. And we will catch up in the Discord. So thank you so much, everyone. Have a fantastic week. And I will catch you all very soon.